The Midwest is home to 61 million people, the majority of which live in cities. To discuss more on the health impacts of climate change, I went and talked with Bruce Craywes.
Bruce is a retired pathologist who now works at Marshfield Clinic researching climate change and its impacts on human health.
Okay, so for my first question, how would the average Midwestern person be affected by climate change or already is?
The most important thing for people to remember is that climate change is the most important health problem of this century. More people, I think, will get sick and will die from climate change than will get sick and die from, say, cancer or heart disease or the other things that are common causes of death right now. And there was a very large group of experts on climate that were put together into a panel that was called the Lancet Panel on Climate Change. That is a medical journal. And these experts were the ones who said that climate change is the greatest health problem of this century. So it's not my idea, it's a group of public health experts known as the Lancet Commission on Climate Change.
Increasing temperatures mean a rise in heat waves. Extreme heat kills more people in the U.S. than any other weather-related disaster. In recent decades, hundreds of people in the Midwest have been killed by them yearly.
It will be hotter, and the heat will cause problems for outdoor workers. When a person is out in really hot weather for a long time, and by really hot, I mean hotter than 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And we will see those temperatures more and more. So if you're outside and it's hotter than 95 degrees, then some people will lose their temperature regulation and they will develop what is often called heat stroke. And children are more susceptible to heat stroke than adults, and elderly people are more susceptible to heat stroke than younger adults. And outdoor workers are more susceptible to heat stroke than people who are in the shade. That will be a problem for us, is people who have to work outdoors in the sun in hot weather may develop hyperthermia or heat stroke.
Another group of people that are more vulnerable to heat waves are people of color and people in low-income communities. These groups of people are more exposed to air pollution and extreme heat at higher rates. This is because their communities have more paved surfaces than they do parks, trees, in general, green spaces. They also have less access to air conditioning, relief from the heat, and medical care. Therefore, they have an increased risk to heat stroke.
If we talk about vectors of disease, the biggest one in the Midwest, I think, would be expected to be Lyme disease. Lyme disease is an infection carried by ticks, and it's an infection with a particular bacteria that's called Borrelia. And the Borrelia bacteria is transferred from the tick to a human when the human receives a tick bite. And ticks are quite sensitive to weather. They are unable to operate very well in cold climates. So as the temperatures of the Midwest warm, then the time during which people can get Lyme disease will increase, and probably the number of cases of Lyme disease will increase. It used to be before 2000 that Canada was too cold for Lyme disease. The only time there was Lyme disease in Canada was when somebody from Canada went south and was bitten, say in the United States or say in Southern Europe or something. As the climate warms, the ticks were able to move north into Canada, and there's a mouse that the ticks get the bacteria from, and the mice also migrated north, so that now Lyme disease is a disease that occurs in Canada. And another problem that we will face in the Midwest is clean drinking water. Right now, there are quite a few threats to drinking water. One is called a toxic bloom. A toxic bloom is when water becomes warmer and then it becomes contaminated with runoff from rainfall that has gone through fields where the water may have picked up manure or fertilizer. And what happens in that case is that there's an explosion of growth of microorganisms. This causes all of the oxygen in the water to be used up by the bacteria, and it also makes the water unfit for drinking or unfit for swimming.
For more on this disease, we go back to Frank Pratt.
If I was on a lake, for example, where there was a blue-green algae bloom going on, I would not let my children swim there. I would certainly not let my dog drink the lake water because there are wickedly strong neurotoxins which can put you into severe neurological problems and even respiratory arrest at very small concentrations. It seems like we have an increasing instances of people who allow their dogs to go down and lap up the lake water when there's a blue-green algae bloom going, and the dog just plain collapses and dies.
One place that is already being hit by waterborne diseases is the Great Lakes. They contain 84% of North America's surface water, which supplies drinking water to 40 million people. During August of 2014, an algae bloom in Lake Erie prompted the city of Toledo to ban drinking and cooking with tap water. This eruption in blue-green algae did not just happen once. It has happened multiple times and continues to do so. It has happened so much that it's common for residents to just turn off their water supply because it's so toxic. These two diseases are not the only ones increasing due to climate change. There is a long list of waterborne and vector-borne diseases that are also increasing. Additionally, warmer seasons mean an increase in the length and severity of the pollen season. As we all know, spring means mating and birth, but not just to animals, to plants too. Some plants, like the notorious ragweed, emit pollen. Some people, like myself, can't handle the degree that it emits and have seasonal allergies. Well, as climate change continues, this season becomes longer and hence emits more pollen than usual. Already, in Madison and La Crosse, the ragweed season is 2 weeks longer than what it was in 1995. Because of this lengthening of the pollen season, more people are having seasonal allergies, and people that already have seasonal allergies, their symptoms are becoming more severe. Then, there's the most obvious health concern due to climate change: air pollution. When we burn these materials, we are emitting carbon dioxide into our atmosphere, which is making our air supply spoiled. In 2018, 41.9 million Americans, or 13% of the nation's population, had ever been diagnosed with asthma by a health professional. This was an increase of 43% from 9.1% in 1999. Inhaling these particles, especially in a fire situation, can lead to a broad range of adverse health effects, like lung cancer, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, and cardiovascular disease. Every year, 7 million die prematurely worldwide from air pollution.
Mental health problems are an aspect of climate change. They're going to affect people worldwide. When people are affected by natural disasters, then they may lose their job or their home or their health. And so this causes increased mental health problems.
To sum up, the average Midwestern person's health is being impacted by climate change. We are seeing a tremendous rise in heat wave deaths, cases of waterborne and vector-borne diseases, cases of allergies and asthma, and air pollution health-related concerns.